I need tongs. I've got to the stage where the first thing I make on my new setup is the tool that I need to make things. I've got to make tongs. I've got a piece of Rio bar. I've got one camera. I'm going to fire up the forge. I'm going to show you what I can do in an hour towards making my first pair of tongs. I figured seeing as I've got no tongs to hold my tongs with, what I'm going to have to do is make one jaw of the tongs using the other piece of the bar as a handle so it's far enough away to stay cold. And then when I've made one end, I'll turn it round and make the other. What I might even do is put a cut with the disc grinder part way through in the middle to give it a thermal break, and that should keep one side cool while I work on the other side. The only thing you can mark on steel with when it's going into a forge when it gets hot is French chalk. So I'm going to measure out how much I need for a pair of tongs. Cut at the midpoint. Now I'm going to be drawing out the reins of the tong, the handles, so it'll get longer. I'm going to make bolt jaw tongs because those are the ones that seem to be the most universal for holding most things. And for that I'm going to need about 3 inches of material for the jaw, about 2 inches of material for the crossover piece, and the rest of it can be the reins. If I give myself 200 for the reins, then stretching out another 100 mil. Part way through here, this is my handles, that's where I'm working, and then I'll repeat that on the other end. Good thermal break there, I hope. Hold this, work on that. Right, first issue. Long pieces of bar tip over on the end. I need something to prop it up with. Starting to get a little bit warm here now, I might have to wear a glove. What I'm going to do now is put the crossover, I don't know these technical terms, but from the handle down to the bottom jaw, it needs to be brought down. So I'm going to be doing that and then just truing up the two faces. And then anything else I do to that will just be tidying up to get rid of the reinforcing rod deformities that they put in, just to make it look nice. Then I'll cut it off. Then I will cool it down, turn it around and start on the other end. And then when I finish that end, I'll be cutting it in half and drawing out the reins. Listen to me drawing out the reins. I sound like a blacksmith. Okay. Right. Bring it down. Folding that back up. What I'm doing now is just taking out the heavy marks, true it up, get it flat. Turn the forge down to save a bit of gas. Wait till this cools down naturally. Always know where you've put your hot steel. Okay, so now I've got the other end in. I've chilled it off. There's the first part, just got the two offsets in. Brought it down to the thickness I want. And just taken off the Rio bar deformity marks. Right, same again. Flatten it off up to the 3-inch mark. Back in the fire. Second heat, I'll just finish what I was doing here. The jaw needs to be a fraction wider. And then I'll turn it 90 degrees, put the second one in. Errant hammer blows. And back in the fire. Okay, third heat. This time I'm going to put the offset in and bring the hinge pad down to thickness. Shit, I forgot which way it goes. Hang on. Stay hot. Right, here we go. Oh yeah, I've got it the right way anyway. I might even get the curling. do that was messy. I put the curl in the wrong way, and I don't mean 180 degrees out, I mean 90 degrees out. Get it right this time. Right, I haven't made a set of pritchels yet. Pritchels are punches that taper and then don't have any, they taper to a certain point, to a known diameter, and then they're straight. And you punch them straight through and it gives you a clean sized hole. The only ones I've got can't be passed straight through. So I'm going to have to start it with this one, ease it out with that one, but I'm going to put the first hole for the bolt in, or for the rivet. And what I want to do is hold this in a pair of vice grips so that it doesn't bounce out of my hands because it's so tiny. Right, so I'm going to hold the bar between my legs, put it on the anvil, bang a hole in it over the britchel hole. Point midway in the centre, and it moved. Over the hill. Okay, I'll put it back in, ease it out to the next size. Those of you who've done a bit of blacksmithing, please bear with me. You've got to remember, I'm naked in every way. I'm ill-prepared, I've got homemade tools, I've never done this before, but I know how metal moves. And I'm having a great time. Right, I'm calling this half time because the tongs are sitting in a bucket. They're roughly formed on both ends. I've put in one of the pivot holes. I'm not going to put the other one in until I've made the tongs a pair so that I can lay them over and get it exactly where I want it to make the setting up of the jaws easier. So what I'm going to do now is split the tongs in two, and no, I'm not going to split the tongs in two. If I hold it, I can use this as a handle and draw down that one without splitting it. So I'm going to heat up this part here, and then I'm going to start drawing down. When I've got it close to how I want it, I'll cool it down again, turn it over, do the other side, and then I will snip them in half at the narrowest point. You with me? Right. So now I want to heat this part, so I might have to poke it through the wee hole in the back to get this part heated up. Actually, I'm going to start. No, hang on. Yeah, I'm going to start here. I would like to start at the midpoint here, but that's going to make it too hot. So I'll work down here, work my way this way. Right, more fire. Oh, a little bit too much. Right, I don't have a rounding hammer. So I'm going to pick the round disc of these two faces, which is this one, and I'm going to bruise and bash the metal over this side here, consciously pulling back all the time, and that will draw out the steel. That'll look rough, smooth it up later. Some more, then I'm going to go from a square into an octagon, and then from an octagon I'm going to start working it into a tapered round handle. That was the easy part. I've only reduced its diameter by 2 millimeters. The tail of it has got to be brought right out. But this is about as far as I can go. The heat's really starting to come through here now. Right, last heat, I hope. Take this down in the middle, something like a point.
Right, I've just measured it and it's 80 millimeters longer than when I started. So the drawing down is having some effect, but my God, it's hard work. All that bruising will come out later when I hit it with a flat hammer, because at the moment I'm hitting it with an old club hammer. I'd love to have a proper blacksmith's hammer. That's going to happen very soon. I'll make a blacksmith's hammer out of an old club hammer. But anyway, look, I've got my offset sorted. I've got my bendy bits. I'm tapering it down. I've cooled it off, measured it. I'm now going to start working on this end and drawing down this side. That'll take about 3 heats. Then I can cut the two in half, and then I can start working out where this other hole's going to be. Finish them up, get any nasty lumpy bits off, shape the jaws, then finish them and make them look pretty, and then rivet them together. By God, there's a lot of work. Center point, heat it up again. And I'll cut it off with a cut-off chisel. Just being careful not to cut right through into the hardened surface of the anvil. Not very clever. Drop forging. That'll do me. Now I'm going to let it cool down. That's too hot to touch. I'll let it cool down, snap it in half. And then I can start paring them up and finishing them, getting all these nasty bruises out with a nice flat hammer. Just coming up to the 2-hour point. I sort of figured it might take me 2 hours to finish them completely, but it's going to take 2 hours to finish just the roughing out. Right, while it's cooling down, this would be a good time to critique. I can see that in the right hand one there's a lot less bruising. Sharp, I mean sharp, nasty, hard to fix bruising than in the left side. The left side was my first one. Of course the right hand side one was my second. Getting better. But drawing out, man, I had no idea how hard that work is. No wonder people buy power hammers. But I'll persevere. These will be the set of tongs I keep forever, so I better make a good job of them. Right, they've cooled down enough to handle. I'm going to clamp them together with a pair of vice grips and we can critique them. What I'm going to do is put them where I think the crossover point should be, and then I'm going to see how the tips line up, and then we'll look for twist and taper and everything else that goes with it, and then I'll look at how I'm going to tidy them up and finish them. Right, now let's see what we've got. Okay, the jaws are very out of alignment, but everything's easily fixed. That is much more that is much more rounded than this. When I round that out, I think it's going to accentuate. Oh, hang on, it's just because of parallelogram. If I look straight down on it, it's actually not bad, but it's going to, if I put a curve into here, it's going to bring that in slightly and shorten it. So I will have to do some jiggery pokery there. The crossover I'm quite happy with for a roughie. The 90 degreeness of the jaws to the crossover part, I'm quite happy with that too. Drawing out, fuck, we won't go there. I've got a lot of work to do with that. Although it doesn't look like it, I must have drawn this one out much further because it's a good 15 millimeters longer than this one. Right, now that I've separated the two, marked where the second pivot point's going to go, I can now start drawing out the reins properly and go at it hammer and tongs, because I can heat both at once and just swap and go from one to the other, and it will stay hot for a lot longer than I retain my strength. So I'll just see how hard I can go. I'm going to look like bloody Popeye at the end of this. Right, I'm going to go and have a cold drink. You're going to cool down, and then I'm going to tweak and adjust and probably form the jaws. I wish I had a flat hammer with a bigger face, then I could make a nicer job of these, I'm sure. But at a later date I could always knock the rivet out and give them another going over. I'm loving my $35 forge. Right, punch the hole, flatten it out, make it look the same shape. now. Getting the jaws to close the way I want them to, I'm now going to peen over the rivet. I could do with a smaller hammer, I really could. Right, there's one side. There's the other side, give them a wobble. Oh my god, I've got tongs! They're not closing quite the way I wanted them to, but I'll give them another set. And I'll have my first set of tongs in just a few minutes. Right, so a final tidy up to size them for the 1/2 inch stock that I want to be able to handle. Done. Love it. Love the feel of them. A bit ugly to look at. They're not symmetrical, but they will do the job. I might turn them around now and draw down the handles a wee bit more because I can. Got to get rid of some of this bruising if it's possible. They're straight at the ends, but there's a bit of funniness going on in the middle here. Oh, easily fixed. Nice. Yep. Right, I'll cool those down now, and then I can draw out the handles a wee bit more and call them finished. Well, from a practical point of view, these tongs are now finished. But I just want to draw out one handle so that it matches the other handle. So I'm just giving it one last heat probably. I know it'll probably turn out to be 2 or 3. But yeah, I'm just going to work on this handle a little bit more, see if I can get it looking more like the other one, and then I'm going to give the things a rub over with beeswax, and I'm going to call these my first set of tongs. Flat side of the hammer. This is just an ordinary club hammer from the hardware store, and I've done a little bit of work on the faces to make it more suitable for smithing. One side I've flattened more than it was, the other side I've reduced more than it was. And apart from the awful plastic handle, it's got a nice feel.
Nearly there. One more heat on the end of both of them, just so that I can round the ends off, and we'll call it finished.
The jaws are not symmetrical, but they do hold firmly. I've got the absolute ends bashed into submission, but the transition of getting there is a little bit out. There might be a little bit of tweaking to do when they cool down, just to get the handles more in line. I don't know what a good pair of tongs should feel like in your hands. So, at least now I've got something that I can hold stuff with. These will hold anything from 1/2 inch to 5/8 fairly firmly. I'm going to have to make some smaller ones, and I'm going to have to make lots of different types. But honestly, it's taken me 2.5 hours to knock these out. I will improve. God, I hope. And now that I've got tongs, it's going to make making stuff a lot easier. So there you go. Naked Blacksmithing 101. I started out with nothing, except for $500 US. I bought an anvil and mounted it, made a forge, made my first set of tongs, all with a horrible Chinese hammer that I've put a little bit more roundness into one face and a little bit more flatness into the other. The handle is starting to come adrift already. I will make myself a nice wooden handle from a piece of tree, and that will be the subject of another video. I've got some old hammers that I'm going to modify. I'm going to turn one into a crossbeam, because I've realised how much you do need a crossbeam, and I want something with a larger, flatter face than this. This is too small, and the hammer's also a little bit too light. It's a 2-pounder. I think I'll need a 2.5-pounder. But there we go. If that was any use to you, please hit the old like button down below, and while you're down there, you could hit the subscribe button and ring the bell at the same time, and then you won't miss any of the Naked Blacksmith's subsequent videos. If manipulating molten steel isn't your cup of tea, then I've got lots of other videos too, about off-grid campers, restoring Land Rovers, and living off-grid, generally doing it for yourself on a minimum amount of cash. So the handles have come out the same length. I've got some nasty bruising from where I started using the wrong side of the hammer and not hitting squarely first off. There was too much heat getting into the ends that I was holding because I had no tongs, and so I couldn't work that out without burning my hands. The rivet went well. The offsets and the boss are okay. Although the ends aren't symmetrical, they do hold anything from 1/2 inch to 5/8 really, really firmly, so I'm very happy with that, because the Naked Blacksmith's not going to burn his pinkies anymore.